Hey guys, so this is episode 4, which is the business tips, which is determining your target. So I'll use some of the businesses that I have to define target for you, but the first thing I'd like to talk about with target isn't automatic generally. Usually it takes time to define who your target is. I recently had a client in my communication business who was a trucking company. They didn't know their target. They didn't know the size of the businesses they go after. They didn't know the industry that they went after. So one of the first things I did to help that client improve their sales was understand who their target was. So let me explain what I mean by that. How did I learn about target? Well, I have an IT consulting business, and I realized when I started it that I was calling anybody that had a pulse and a computer. And I found out that some companies were giving me more business over time than others. So at about the 18-month mark, I realized that I had 20 clients, but my pocket wasn't feeling any fatter with my business that I was proposing. So I was making all these calls, but I wasn't getting more money really. And I thought, why is it that some companies are doing more? So I took a look at all of those companies. And I'm shortening this story for you, but the short story was I realized that companies that were between 1 computer and 19 computers needed us once a year. So although we were charging the same amount we charge other companies, they were only using us 1 day out of every 52. The second thing that I realized was companies that were between 150 or more computer employees had their own IT staff. And I started to dial this down, and I realized I only had 3 companies that had exactly what were giving me weekly earnings every week. And those 3 companies all had the same amount of employees. They had 20 to 50. They didn't have an IT person, and we were their IT company, and we came into their office 1 day a week. So we would get revenue from them each week. So I started to realize that anybody under 19, I wasn't going to call. I would even tell them if they had under 19 and they called me, I'd say, I can't help your business. If they had 51 to 100, they had an IT person on site. That IT person had the same name. That person's name was average. They weren't a great IT person. They were kind of mediocre. So that person would occasionally use us once every 3 months or once every 6 months when they got stuck with a project. So only at 2 days worth of revenue generally in a year span. So for those companies, we would still help them, but we realized that that's not our target. So in the IT consulting business for us, we were doing support for companies, and we still are doing support for companies that are 20 to 50 employees is exactly our target. I'll use some of my other businesses. I have a martial art business, and I realized that my target martial art person who was perfect for me was usually between the ages of 11 and 35, and they were usually males because those are the ones who seemed that they wanted to last with it the longest. For my YouTube channel, My Car Story with Lou, I found out that my target audience, 92% is males who are between the age of 45 and up. That's because I feature cars that are usually 1940s through about 1980s, and those people seem to who like cars. That was my target audience. My target audience for my communication business can vary. It's usually companies that have more than 25 employees, but not more than 1,000 employees, because those companies have enough disconnect in their business, or they're having some sales stuckness that I can help them get out of. If it's a smaller company between 30 to 100 employees, I can get to know those companies more intimately and use some of the tools in my consulting business to help those companies get unstuck faster. One of the clients just called me up who has 40 employees. I helped their executives. She was so impressed that she says, Lou, I need you to help our sales staff. I then helped their sales staff, and then I ended up helping all the companies and the employees in the company, and their sales grew 17%. So the point is, once you know your target, it's easy to step closer to the dartboard. The farther back I am, harder to hit the target. The closer I get with my dart, the easier I can hit the target. So the target turns out to be who your perfect client is, and I find it as a value, the shorter you can give that message to somebody who doesn't know you, the better you're going to be able to target. As an example, Lou, who are you looking for when you go to a car show with My Car Story? Well, I'm not looking for motorcycles, right? So that's out. I'm not looking for trucks. That's out. So I am looking for cars that either look like they came from the factory, they're restored back to factory original, or they're survivors, which means they came from the factory and they still survived. Those usually have the best stories. I'm also not looking for auctions. If I go to an auction and say, hey, how long you have the car? 30 seconds. Okay, that's not a good story. Or if they say, they have a bad story for the car. There was a death or something like that. I don't know. I'm just using that as an example. But sometimes there's bad stories that I don't want to talk about. All right. So I usually like to keep a very upbeat, positive, G-rated YouTube channel. So I know my target is going to be 92% of its males. That doesn't mean I don't like females on the channel. I'd love to have females on the channel. They do great interviews. But I'm not going to be focused on that. So what I really focus on, number one and first and foremost, is the car. Is the car a car between 1940 and 1980? And is it going to be something that people used to remember or like, or something very unusual and wow, or really what? They've never seen it before. So that's going to be the kind of cars I go to a car show. So I was recently in Oregon, Medford, Oregon. That's what they call it, Oregon. And I went to the Fabulous 50 show, had a great time. There were 250 cars there, and I saw probably about 7 of them that meet the description that I just talked to you about. So once I knew my target, I knew who were the 7 people I wanted to talk to. We videoed 3 of those cars. Turns out one of the cars I actually had videoed before, so it was good because that told me that I knew my target. So I hope that helps you with target, and if it helps you get closer to your target, you're going to get more sales. And if you get more sales, you're going to make more money. And if you make more money, you can help more people and you can help yourself and your family. All right? Hope that helped, guys. Thanks.